First off, I just want to say thank you very much to James Munro, very good friend of mine. He had worked in a hospital as a porter and also in the British Army, where most of my stories are going to be coming from for this video and for the next one or two that I might do for viewer subscriptions. I just want to say thank you now, and I hope you enjoy. Viewer discretion warning, some of the content is a little disgusting to say the least, and might have trigger warnings. So just wanted to, if you offend easily or anything like that, please feel free to skip the video. If not, we'll dive right in, and happy nightmares. First body I ever dealt with was an 82-year-old woman who had died at her home. As she had no family, she'd been left there for almost 2 months before her neighbours called the police, complaining about the smell. When she was brought into the morgue for us to deal with, the smell made my mate throw up, so it was left to me to get her body into the freezer. Unzipping the body bag and gagging at the smell, I looked at her face. Oh, her skin was dark green, but I saw movement in her eye sockets. I wish I hadn't. A closer look revealed hundreds of maggots moving around in the cavities where her eyes had used to be. Oh, I had to remove them, all with tweezers before the autopsy could be done. When I was 19, about 15 years ago, working as a hospital porter, a job I'd held for 3.5 years, seen some shit over those years, some of which sticks with me still. One of my duties as a porter was taking the dead from the wards and departments around the hospital to the morgue, seeing all sorts. One of the main ones that stuck with me was when I had to take a 6-year-old girl there from the children's ward. The only one I had to take to the morgue from there in 3.5 years that I worked there. We got a call to go collect the poor girl, so myself and another porter went to collect her. When we got to the ward, we were confronted with nearly 15 members of her family and 6 nurses, all hysterical. We managed to find out which side room the nurses had put her in and went in to get her. We were not prepared for the sight we were greeted with. She'd not been wrapped in the shroud. Hospital procedure. She was lying there just looking like she was asleep. Myself and my colleague had to wrap her ourselves and take her to the morgue. After we had finished, myself and my colleague were numb, didn't react to being tortured or anything else. We were sent home for a week and given counselling, but I swear to God, almost a year afterwards, I kept seeing her standing there, just out the corner of my head, every time I visited the morgue. I ain't ashamed to admit, that almost broke me. Before I start this story, a little background. Where I live in England, a county called Bedfordshire, and there's 2 towns called Luton and Dunstable, both of which I have lived in, both of which can and have seen their fair share of violence over the years. Going back to the hospital story, working as a hospital porter, he dealt with a lot of victims of car crashes and house fires. Crash victims were always a mess. Broken bones sticking through the skin, crushed skulls, and partially spilled guts. Oh, never nice thinking about that. The fire victims were the worst. Burnt to a crisp, their skin black and oozing red liquid. The smell, well, oof, the smell was just unimaginable. I also have seen the bodies of murder victims, 2 in particular. Marcus Hall. His head had been caved in with a cricket bat outside a nightclub in Luton. It was a mess. I could see his brain and crushed skull. The other was Adam Ganley. They had gone into a fight in Dunstable and he'd been stabbed in the throat with a broken bottle. The cut was so deep you could partially see his spine through the hole in his windpipe. Those I will never forget.